Okay. The I've never sort of really put my view on about abortion before, but it is very clear. Whichever way you look at it, it is murder. It's the killing of a human being, regardless. If it's done other than for a woman, literally, if the woman is going to die, and if she's in hospital, and the doctor say, "Look, sorry, the child has to be removed because your life's in danger," or the child has died in the womb, that's different. Um, there are some. I think that I saw a lady said that her child was literally, when she um, was pregnant, I think it was about 6 months, 7 months. They realised that because she wasn't feeling too well, there was issues, and when they checked, and the actual baby was dying in her womb, and there was a possibility. They said that it could kill her because of this problem. They could see the child was actually dying slowly over time. Um, his heartbeat was slowing very slow. There was issues, but in the end, they felt they took the decision to abort the child. In those cases, not a problem. It's not classed as murder; it's classed as saving the woman's life. Because if you allowed, I mean, maybe if you allowed it to go for natural term, it would come out stillborn anyway. But I think there was, her blood was being poisoned or something was happening, so it was affecting her. So they felt, look, we need to save the life of the mother. Whereas abortion on tap, so that a woman can walk in and say, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months into the pregnancy, and they're even talking about 8.5 to 9 months into the pregnancy, you can just walk in and say, I don't want this baby, and just kill it. That is murder. That is killing, and it's going on every single day. I don't know what the figures are in the UK. We always get American figures, but let's go with the American figures. In America, for instance, over 10 million black babies have been aborted since Planned Parenthood came into existence. Planned Parenthood is the evil creation of Margaret Stanger. Margaret Stanger was a pioneer in the for birth control, for female birth control. I mean, her, back in those days, in 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever, women were having 10, 15 babies, 14 babies, whatever, and because of the lack of contraception at the time, or cheap contraception, if the truth be told. But so women were going through a hard time, and I fully understand. That was a problem, because obviously a lot of those kids died. Women may have had 10, 15 children, and then maybe literally half of those children probably did die or more. So, with the eventual introduction of, contraception, of the pill, condom, etc., etc., it is now women now can not have to consistently. I mean, now women are literally having one, two, in the UK, one or two kids, and that's it. When you hear of a woman having three or four, it's like, whoa, seriously? And I think it's Rees-Mogg has 6 children. That is like, what? Wow. People say, is that unheard of? I mean, I think in the Jewish community, they have quite a few kids, 6, 7, 8, with no problem. This is clearly hard work for the mother. Without, this is hard work for the mother. But it is what it is. Childbirth is a wonderful thing. It is hard work. And that's the reason why we praise mothers that we do for what they have to go through in order to bring everybody into this world. And that's why we admire women as we do. They need to be loved and cherished, and not whenever to be abused unnecessarily. Or yes, unnecessarily. There are people who are abused and treated badly for no reason, but then there are for whatever reason the other person may have, we don't know. Everyone's got their own different stories, etc., etc. But I've been thinking about it in the last on and off. I think should abortion be only a woman's choice? Should the woman just have abortion on tap? You see, the problem is that women have got to realise, I think, in a not too distant future, that while they may have this choice now, that men, it's not just men, women are actually going to sperm banks to get sperm and artificially inseminate themselves. Men need to stop this. Because without that, either they'd have to go and ask their friends, maybe they'd have to go and ask homosexual friends that they've got, can you give up some sperm so I can have a kid, or this and that. Men need to stop going to these sperm banks because you're not appreciated. You are being used, and you get insulted as being a man today when you are handing over something that's very precious to these ungrateful people who then go out of their way to then say, you know what, I don't want this child. A woman who, yes, had accident, may have had sex and the condom broke and they didn't realize, or there was a problem with it, or she didn't take her pill at the right time. She stopped taking it because it was causing her a problem. But she's in a relationship, and she felt the need to have sex, and she was with a boyfriend, and she, etc., etc. The man is also to blame in some ways. With some guys, will try and persuade a girl to have the abortion. So it is a two-way thing, but ultimately, obviously, it's down to the woman. But this is the thing. As I said before, Margaret Stanger was especially in America, the arbiter of this vile Planned Parenthood. Now, while Planned Parenthood has a right to exist, I feel it needs to exist without receiving a penny from the government, other than those people that decide to hand over their money to. So in other words, people should be allowed or able to, when they go to the voting ballot and they put their name down and who they are and all their details, they should be in the box or electronically, so that there's no cheating, be able to put a tick in the box and say, I want to pay for Planned Parenthood a portion of my taxes, and those who don't will put in clearly, I don't want to pay, so that they don't have to pay for Planned Parenthood and fund it. Only those people that want to fund Planned Parenthood should do. It's a big organization. It has a reasonably good head start. It can advertise itself consistently as a charity. There's millions and millions of women out there who are pro-choice, who would, quite happily donate hundreds of pounds a month from their wages to Planned Parenthood, so that it exists. You can guarantee that it would not have any problems whatsoever finding funding whatsoever. So but at the same time, people who don't want and believe in abortion, they must be allowed to have a choice of how their money goes to, organizations like Planned Parenthood, and also how their money, when Planned Parenthood gets money, it funds the Democratic Party. I think it gives money and funds. That's outrageous. It should never be allowed to do that. If that's the case, that's just dishonest. There are Republicans who don't want their money going to Planned Parenthood and then go somehow, get into the hands of the Democrats. It shouldn't be allowed. That has to be stopped. The same in the UK. I think I don't want abortions to be performed by private clinics. They can operate as a charity to a degree, but only so that they can operate. The rest of the money they get is through their, as a business, advertising, and those women that want to and are able to pay for an abortion should be able to get an abortion. Because there is going to come a time in the next 50 to 100 years that a man will be able to go to a clinic. There will also be egg banks. You've got sperm banks. Whether there are any female egg banks out there, I don't know. I mean, when women menstruate, have their period, I'm sure that there are eggs there that are perfectly fine, perfectly okay, that could be harnessed and frozen. So, instead of women throwing their, pads away, the eggs could be harnessed and then frozen. So in order to have a bank of female eggs and a bank of male sperm banks. Because if we're going to have sperm banks, why can't we have, and there should be, female egg banks, so that a man could in the future say, I don't want to have, all homosexuals or whoever it is could, or just a straight guy might say, I'm done with relationship with women. I want to have a child without having any connection with a woman. Because at the moment, women are the ones that bring the children into the world. If someone, and it will happen, is able to have a similar incubator of the womb, an artificial womb, that could bring a child into this world, the card that women have as the providers of would basically cease. And then women actually would do them, they want to get on with, not having to think of bringing children into this world. They could easily just say, right, I want a child, do the same as what a guy does. 9 months, that child will be in a clinic after 9 months, she can get on with the work without having the stress of, carrying a baby. So her eggs could be used. Sperm from a sperm bank, or from a friend, or whatever it is, could be used to bring this child into the world, and she wouldn't have had to bear it herself. Same with a man. So that would be true equality. The moment you get someone who is able to invent this system of an artificial incubator, just like you see in is it Superman Returns? Not that one. I think the one with the Australian actor Russell something. I can't remember his name. Not Russell Grant. Russell. Anyway, he's a big bird. The gentleman that was the lead in Gladiator. That's it. He was in Gladiator. Let me see if I put in Gladiator. There you go. Let's see who the lead was in Gladiator. Russell Crowe. That's it, Russell Crowe. Actually, I need to see that again. Gladiator. That was a really, really cool film. God, it came out in 2000. 18 years ago. Wow. His name is Maximus. River Phoenix's brother was absolutely, fantastic in that film. Really, really cool. 93 people liked this film. Rotten Tomatoes only gave it 77. It was an epic film. Anyway, so we're talking about abortion here. So yeah. So he was in the film Superman, where he was Superman's father. And in that film, you see literally a whole bank of babies that have been incubating in incubators and being fed the nourishment and whatever they need to be fed. And this will come to us here one day, a child. The test tube baby, everybody assumed that was bought, the child would literally be, that's what they thought, that the child would be incubated in a test tube, which is not. It's just a way of, cross-fertilizing and then putting the egg back into the woman who couldn't have a child naturally. And now it's just routine. But in the future, you will see an egg taken from a woman, a sperm taken from a man. That egg will be fertilized in a solution that will, the egg will be able to, be fertilized with the same kind of solution that's in a female womb. And it will, all the nutrients it needs and fed. A tube will be again, similar to a female, how a tube is formed, probably from the lining, when the egg is in the lining. Similar thing will be provided, and a tube will be inserted, organic tube, so that nutrients can be provided into the egg for it to grow, just like in a female womb. Where will that put women in a position? Nothing. They will be equal truly to men now, so they can get on with their business without having to worry about giving birth, and men will be able to have children without the need of going to an organic woman and going through all the palaver that they're going through at the moment. But guess this, they will be able to have a companion in the form of an android. One for a man, female, one for a woman, male, or transsexual, or whatever they want. And so women will have their companionship with an android, just like you see in the Next Generation. I remember the scene when female security guard, said to Data, "I require your attention," and the door was shut. He went in, the door was shut. He does his what she requires, and you later then see them with the ubiquitous headshot of them lying in bed after he's done his performance, and that's what it will be for men and women in the future. This is serious. I think the relationship between men and women is going to be so massively fraught that organic men and organic women will completely separated in the not too distant future, because women will have their robotic androids, and men will have their female androids, and they'll have discussions and talk and whatever they need to, but the relationship side, I think, will just die. Or they may have relationship, but they just will not need to have physical relationship because they'll have their androids for that physical relationship. So, but in the meantime, abortion is a choice for a woman. But at the same time, I and a lot of people who don't agree with abortion must be allowed to have our say in this as well. But most importantly, we don't want to pay for this abortion. If you want to kill your child, you do it in your own time and you accept the guilt. The other thing as well, I believe that all abortion should only be performed by women. No longer men will be allowed to perform these abortions. Only women, women doctors, nurses, women nurses, period. In the hospitals, it will be because for medical reasons, to save the mother, cesarean, etc., etc. But if it's for, and hospitals should not be allowed to perform abortions on tap. It should only be private. They should be funded privately, because at the end of the day, you could see many people did not realize that Planned Parenthood harvested these babies, and they were getting a price for a foot, for a leg, for an arm, for a torso, for a head. Come on! We're going into the realms of Frankenstein, or worse than that, for God's sakes. There are things that are being done that we don't know about with these bodies, with these dead bodies. And I can't remember, was it that's how they make their money. That's how Planned Parenthood makes a good proportion of its money from from these bodies that are cut up from within the woman's womb or removed, and then a proportion of those things are then handed to given to research companies so that they can use those dead bodies to do research. Because I think the way that abortions were done before, when I think it was done, and it wasn't done by cutting up. It was done by a woman was given a solution, and then it was causing abortion. Then the baby came out full into the bucket. This is how one lady said, a Catholic. She was a Catholic, and she was 42 years of age, and she survived the abortion, even with the solution that was in when she was in the bucket. And it was only because the nurse heard some gurgling and looked in the bucket and saw movement and said, "Oh, this one's alive." That's how she was saved. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to have been there to testify. And she was against abortion. But the problem is, it will, you know, when young women are indoctrinated in universities by the evil feminist movement today, they're brainwashed. They're literally just brainwashed. Look at that Emma Watson. I mean, dumbass that she is. She went to Brown's, a known cesspit of feminist nonsense. To be honest with you, now 99% of the universities that allow, you know, men and women are feminist universities in the UK, and especially in America. Probably 100%, you know, are feminist universities. You know, I'm happy for feminist universities to exist if they're female-only universities. You have female-only universities. Why aren't there more male universities? Because they've reversed that. Where it was men who went to these universities, now it's literally women, and men are slowly and gradually not going to university. That is exactly what the feminist movement wants. It wants to reverse everything that had occurred, and they want this 150,000 years reign in order to so-called equalize, as a revenge, supposed revenge between men and women. That's what they want. They want this to happen. They want to have 150,000 year reign so that women are in charge of everything from the top right down, so that eventually the inventions that come out will be by women, because they'll be in charge supposedly, and they'll bring all these inventions to fruition without the need or help with men. But in the meantime, they need the help of men, but they need to be able to keep men under the thumb. Okay, that's why you got this Brett Kavanaugh shit and nonsense that came out. Look at this woman now, Ford, is not going to pursue Kavanaugh. She's done. She doesn't need to. She's made this guy life some misery, and she's now going to be, if she's not a millionaire already, she's going to be a millionaire. She's going to bring out a book. Millions of lesbian feminists and ordinary so-called feminists are going to buy the book to read the nonsense that she will, you know, put in her book. How proud she is to have this degree, that degree, all this kind of nonsense. Yet she played it ridiculously. She just looked like a complete and total fool that she is. I mean, for someone who's 51 years of age, Jesus H. Christ, you look old. She looked like a 65-year-old, a young 65-year-old. Holy sweet Christmas. And Kavanaugh looked like a 45, 46-year-old geezer. So, while this was a talk about abortion, I mean, as you can look at that. Holy God. It's horrendous. You know, I don't want to click through because there's some quite horrendous pictures here. Clinton and Trump on abortion. So we know what her stance is, and we know what his stance is. And what's that? Oh, that looks like a raspberry. So what's that? Is that the size of a? The problem with abortion prohibition. So what they're doing is, instead of using the image of a child, they use a raspberry for their propaganda. You know, it's only this size of a strawberry, and you know, it's not fully human. The moment the sperm enters the egg, that's when it's human. Period. You know. So yeah, the day that children are, and it will happen when they're brought into this world via artificial, then women will not have to go through so from their point of view, the agonies of childbirth, the natural agonies of childbirth. Okay, because children will be brought into the world artificially, and men will be, but then it will be equal for men. They will be able to walk into a clinic and go, right, let me have a see this. Oh, there's a black woman's egg, a Chinese woman's egg, a white woman's egg, Indian woman's egg. Which one should I go with? Or a mixed race woman's egg. This is her percentage of black, white, whatever, and he'll be able to choose from these selection of eggs, of female eggs, and then he'll go, right, I'll take that one, and the android will then provide the sperm, turn up at the clinic, and then a child will be produced within 9 months. He'll be contacted, he can come pick up his child. No connection with a woman. Because that's what women want, and that's what will be produced. So they will lose that power that they had, but they'll gain another power. They'll gain real, true equality. They will be able to pursue their dreams without having to bear a child or feel the need to bear a child. And if they do want to bear a child, they just give up some of their eggs, and then go to the clinic and go, right, I want this sperm, and then that one will be chosen. He pays your money. The child will be cultivated and brought into the world. She can go and pick up the child, and if she's got a female partner that she wants to be with, or a robot, then she can do that without the need to have any connection with any man. There you go. So, so my view on abortion is this: by all means, it is a woman's choice. But remember, there is a second person in this. If a woman has had a relationship with that person, and then she decides, I don't want this child. Again, at the same time, it also depends on the time. So I'm happy for a maximum of 2 weeks. Maximum of 2 weeks that a woman can perhaps go to a clinic or whatever, and for it to be done maybe at a reduced price. I don't know, or something could be worked out. But past that 2 weeks, you will have that baby. So you've got 2 weeks, maybe three at the last knock-ins. Let's say 3 to be generous. You've got 3 weeks maximum. If you don't do anything about it, you go over that threshold of 3 weeks, that's it, finish. You have to take it to term. And if you, to be honest with you, I think it should be classed as murder the moment you, after a week, or even less. But if it's, you do an abortion after that time, it will be classed as murder. I think we're coming to that time. At some point or other, it will have to be. That's, there's all this, and you see, the thing is, these women who want to do this have to realize that somebody has to do it for them, because that's why they're going to a clinic to get it done. Or maybe in the future you'll be able to use, tablets in order to abort the child. Yes, it's traumatic, but you want to remove this child from you, then you have to bear the cost of that. There is a cost and a price, an emotional price. You have to take responsibility. You are the person that wants to remove this child from you, and you want to kill this child. So you have to bear that cost. I'm sorry. So, there are so many people out there who are willing, if you allow the child to go to fruition, to take that child and abort and adopt that child. And many women have done that, and then years down the line, when the child's 18, 19, and suddenly they meet their child and they go, wow, I'm so happy I didn't have this aborted. But this is the point. There are women out there that don't want that to happen. They don't want to ever meet that child and face that child. That's terrible. That's just absolutely just horrendous. And I'm sorry, you know, women of rape. I think we've got women of rape. There's an absolute case. Once you've reported the rape, and within a period of time, again, it should be 2 to 3 weeks. Then you should be offered an abortion there and then, and up to a month, perhaps, because it's a special case. But again, after that, I'm afraid you have to take there can't be this 2 months, 4 months, 6 months. It's just not acceptable. It just isn't. It's just disgraceful and disgusting. There should be a cut-off point. And I think it's 23 weeks is just too long. It's too long. If women want to have abortions, by all means, you do it on your own back, through your own money. Those who don't want to support it should not have to pay towards abortion. There's enough money out there, supporters out there who will, they can, be a complete charity. I think Planned Parenthood is a class as a charity anyway. So, you look at Oxfam and all these charities, these big charities, they get millions and millions. Cancer research constantly advertises and gets millions and millions, in the UK, and is able to, and it's a charity status, and it operates, and it consistently, you see the leaflets through the door on TV, so why can't Planned Parenthood operate in the same way? Just, the money that it receives from the government should only be from those people who are willing to support Planned Parenthood. Should not come from, because this is what these, pro-choicers want. That if you don't support a woman's right for abortion, you hate women, which is the sick mental mentality of these people. It's a sickness, it's a mental illness. Person who is pro-life, who wants to see life brought forth as it should be, and not chopped up in the womb, bit by bit, and then removed, and then sold off, to the per kilo to, these research organisations who then, use baby parts for, for research. Ultimately it does benefit us, but why do they have to get them from babies that are deliberately murdered, when I'm sure that hospitals can give those, ones that are, well, not even those. I mean, those are, are buried as properly as they should be. But no, I just think it's not acceptable the way in which, abortion should not be on tap. Plain and simple. There are two people in the story. If it's a woman going to a clinic just to have an abortion, you look at America, 10 million kids are just aborted because a girl got pregnant by a boy, and then she rushes off, and the child is aborted, after a period of time. It's not acceptable. Anyway, that's my people who don't want to pay for abortions should be able to opt out at the ballot box, when they go and vote and say, no, I don't want to pay for this, and their proportion of money should not then go to the government. They should be able to have that choice. If women are saying they want to have the choice of abortion, by all means have it. But those people who don't support abortion should not have to pay for it. It's as simple as that. And, finance your own killings yourself. Thanks for listening.